Hey man, what's all this?
You said we're playing Ravnica, right? I got my Golgari Dimir black, blue, green deck. It's janky stall, but once it gets going, watch out.
Wrong Ravnica, dude.
Oh, crap.
Nerdarchy Dave here from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds, and today I'm hanging out with
Nerdarchist Ted.
Welcome to Nerdarchy, a place for news, views, and homerooms for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, as well as other role-playing games.
Don't forget to crit hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell.
Alright, so Ravnica just came out. Mad Mage just came out.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about Ravnica right now, but we're also going to give away a pair of books. We're going to give away one of each through the Gleam link in the description below. You guys stick around, we'll talk about that more. But for now, let's kind of jump into it. So we want to do kind of a first impression of Ravnica. We haven't had much time with it. So we're going to kind of quickly go through some of the things we picked out real quick, and then we'll get a little bit more in depth.
So inside, you get 5 new races specific to Ravnica to be able to add to the 5th edition races that you can play, which is pretty awesome. Some of them are, completely centralized to the Magic the Gathering universe, which that in of itself is awesome.
We also get 2 new archetypes or subclasses as well.
So there's 10 guilds, factions that you can be able to add and use within your D&D game.
And they're going to give you some new benefits to add to the game. We'll go over later. Also, you're going to get 78 new monsters.
And these are from a wide range, including with a bunch over CR20. And lastly, there's 17 new magic items in the book.
So there's a lot of new stuff that's going on, and I'm going to be following along on my phone with D&D Beyond, and Ted's got the book there as well.
So you can check out all the awesome content over on D&D Beyond. We've checked it out. We enjoy using it. They're the sponsor for this video. It makes sorting and finding information that much easier. So head down to the description below where you can find a link to D&D Beyond and pick up your Guildmaster's Guide.
So now, kind of circling back, we mentioned a bunch of new things. For instance, those 5 new races. There's more races than that Ravnica speaks to, but these are 5 brand new races that appear in this book.
So we have the Centaur, and we saw the Centaur originally in the UA along with Minotaur, but here we get it in a complete hardback book, so they become official races at this point in time if you're playing Ravnica.
Oh, we get the Semic hybrid as well, and the Veltican. I'm not sure if
Vedalken.
I'm not sure how you say that. I should have clicked the button on D&D Beyond to hear how it was said. And there was one other lizard folk type race that they totally ditched, and they're just use lizard folk now.
Didn't make the cut.
Yeah, or they just decided they were so similar to lizard folk there was no need for an entirely new race.
So of the races that were there, do you have any favorites?
Come on, man. I'm kind of an old head. Kryn was my jam back in the day, especially the Minotaurs. I'm digging the Minotaur.
I'm more into monstrous races. So reading through the Simic Hybrid, I really felt that one was just amazing. Not only does it give me loads of inspiration for creating material as a GM, it gives me lots of fun ideas of what I would want to do as a player, as well as decide, well, what happens if we were to take this a little bit further? Could you add other monstrous or, animalistic features beyond what was listed in the book?
So I must say the Vedalken and the Semic Hybrid were the least appealing to me. If I were to order them, Minotaur at the top, and then Centaur and Luxodon are really close behind.
Luxodon are cool. When we did the Unearthed Arcana review of them, there was this whole debate about what they could do with their trunk, and it's been clear it can't wield weapons and it can't hold a shield. So no more 2-weapon fighting with a shield with a Luxodon.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things is that they actually in the UA that was flavor text. It wasn't part of the actual traits. And they took that flavor text and basically moved it towards the traits so to make it a little bit more clear what they can do. There is one thing that I am not clear about, and I'm very curious. Can they spellcast using their somatic components with the trunk?
No.
Really?
Yeah, it specifically says that it cannot be used for spellcasting. Page 18 Second paragraph under trunk. You can't wield weapons or shields or do anything that requires manual precision, such as using tools or magic items or performing the somatic components of a spell.
I totally missed that part. So you can use it to do anything you want as long as it's not useful. I still like it. They got a snorkel.
They saw you coming.
They absolutely saw it coming. I was like, finally, this fixes Warcaster.
So lot of fun, but yeah, all of the fine motor skills they're not doing with the little nub of the trunk.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so moving on to the class options. We've got a new cleric domain, order.
We got the domain of order, and they give you the breakdown of what gods in other verses might wind up using the cleric domain, which I thought was a nice add.
Yeah, I actually liked it. I thought it was really strong. You know, first level, you're getting heavy armor plus skill proficiency. And not only that, though, like when you cast certain spells, you get to have other things happen. I thought that was pretty strong.
So the skill choice is intimidation or persuasion. So there's a choice, which I think is pretty awesome to be able to choose. The order domain is supposed to be we're the peacekeepers, we're the law bringers here. So it's like, do you want to be nice about persuading the law, or do you want to use fear and intimidation?
Then that first level ability they get, where when they cast a spell on someone else, that person gets to use their reaction to make an attack.
But it's against a creature of your choosing, so I think that is nice. Very often, or most times, it's not going to be an issue, but sometimes it's like, I want you to hit him, but I don't want to hit him. It can be a lot of fun. It's still the player's choice making the attack roll, whether they do it or not. But it's still, you get some extra bang for your buck, which I think is nice.
You get to order them around.
Indeed. Stealing my jokes there, Dave. So as you gain levels in this particular class, I think it's very melee heavy. They double down on the 8th level Divine Strike ability, and then
did you think they were going to do something else?
No, but I mean, well, they give them the 8th level, but then it gets stronger at 14th level as opposed to having another 14th level power, and then the Order's Wrath. I just like, all right, it's still more just extra melee damage.
Yeah, they double and triple down on that ability throughout it. I mean, all in all, it's thematic. It's decent. So if you're playing that order god or that law god, it's probably something someone would be interested in incorporating into their game for sure.
Absolutely. It's definitely good to have the extra options. Next, we move on to Circle of Spores, which, correct me if I'm wrong, this was a UA as well.
It was from way back when.
And this is your way of playing that pseudo necromantic druid. It's pretty darn creepy, but it definitely fits into the realm of Magic the Gathering with ease.
I kind of wish that, because on your spell list you get Animate Dead as a druid now. I kind of wish that I called it out and made it more like the Spores ability, where you're not actually creating an actual zombie, but the spores reanimate the body, so it's a little less necromantic and more like this weird fungal symbiote that you're creating. It really just reminds me of Infected Turns from StarCraft back in the day. But yeah, so they did tweak this subclass quite a bit from the original UA.
Okay. So do you remember what changes there were?
Not specifically, but a lot of it is tweaking how that animated corpse works and how their spores work. They actually, in my opinion, they made it a little bit better. Nice. So I definitely want to play a Spores druid or druid Circle the Spores at some point for sure.
It's definitely fun and thematic, and it's definitely a different take on your average druid. So the next section is all about the guilds, and chapter 2, the guilds of Ravnica. So they have a synopsis that's broken down. The government body is the Azorius Senate, and forgive me while I read this. The Boris Legion is a military force. House Demir is an espionage network. The Gruul clans is an association of raiders. There's 2 scientific research institutions, the Izzet League and the Simic Combine, which, to me, I really like those guys. The Orzhov Syndicate is another organized crime type family. The cult of Rakdos was created by powerful demons, and they're all about entertaining but spreading fear and gaining power. Again, I thought that one was...
Think Circus of the Macabre.
Yeah, very much so. And then two widely divergent groups devoted to nature is the Golgari Swarm and the Selesnya Conclave. So I don't know how much you had a chance to dive into any of these, whether you had any favorites.
I kind of like the Gruul clans and definitely the circus folk. Like, those guys are so creepy and weird, and they literally have demons that show up for the performances to kind of terrify the crowds.
I might be getting ahead of myself, but the cult of Rakdos, one of your features for taking that background is you literally have the ability to just not pay for different things, because if you widely display that you belong to that, people are terrified of you, and it's like, oh, the couple silver for your meal? No, I'm not going to come after you for it.
Yeah, the way it's actually worded is, if you basically can break minor laws without repercussions, the innkeeper is not going to call the watch because you didn't pay for your meal if you try and skip out. It uses the example of, if you break down someone's door but the watch does not witness it, then charges are not likely to be pressed against you. So there were some interesting things like that. And with each of the guilds that you mentioned, each one has an associated background,
right,
that you could play if you wanted to, really enmesh yourself into one of the guilds.
All of the backgrounds are related specifically to one of the 10 guilds. You have the ability to either be a part of a guild or not. And you can play and try to get into a guild. There's a awesome system within this book, that talks about the whole rank and file structure of each of these different factions.
Yeah, there's two things worth mentioning when you talk about guilds. One is spellcasting, because all the guilds have spells known, including cantrips, which is kind of a divergent from anything we've seen before when spells known are giving. Now, you don't automatically get these spells, but now they're on your spell list and you choose to cast them if you have the spellcasting feature or pack magic.
Yes, then they become, of your spellcasting, options, they're there that you can choose, which, some of the selections are pretty nice depending upon, where you go.
Yeah, and it really gets, I think, interesting when you look at, say, Paladin or Ranger, because you get spells that are really far removed from anything those classes would normally get. Like maybe like a ranged damaging spell, which is normally not their thing.
Right.
I don't know if Fireball's on any of them, but technically you could have a Paladin that casts Fireball if it is. There's definitely other ones that are. So there's that worth mentioning, as well as it really uses the renown system from the Dungeon Master Guide, which was like kind of an optional rule. It incorporates it here, and it goes even further. Like, if you have certain ranks worth of renown, or I should say, if you have a certain amount of renown, it gives you rank in that guild, and even with other guilds, which these can give you special abilities in the sense that some of them get like followers and henchmen.
Right. So if you don't belong to a guild, you can gain renown with them, but all that's going to do is get you contacts. The renown in your guild can give you rank and prestige and the ability to get some of those other things. One of the options is you can get a guild signet ring, which essentially is like a magic item that allows you to cast a guild spell for one charge. It gets D3 charges back every day, holds 3 charges. Is pretty nice. So
one of the interesting things about Ravnica as a whole, as a campaign setting, is it actually goes into a lot of detail on building an adventuring party, how to get different people together, whether you all belong to the same guild, different guilds, maybe even guildless. There's a starter adventure in this book. The whole campaign world itself is one giant city, which is kind of weird and interesting at the same time. But not only that, like, there's a lot of diverse creatures that are kind of commonplace, and they're monsters, really, as well as demons and angels. You got minotaurs and centaurs. And I just feel like it's a weird place to be, where you're walking on the street and you see this amalgamation of all these creatures.
Well, it's one of the things that vampires, demons, angels, in the lore of Magic the Gathering, these aren't completely, limited to, oh, well, demons are from the abyss, that's where they're stuck. Angels are from heaven, and that's where they are. Now, these things are like races that exist on these planes normally. So it's pretty weird that, you have these things, set up that are a complete diversion away from the typical D&D verse.
Yeah, so basically, this kind of sum up what you said. You're taking a far left turn from other D&D campaign settings. It's very different. Also, it feels far more fantastical than your Greyhawk or even your Forgotten Realms. There's a lot more magic going around.
Absolutely. So we were talking about some of the different guilds. The Izzet Guild is all about like mechanical creations, and for them it's more about the process and the exploration than it is about, let's think and discover. They want to just give it a try and see what happens. They're definitely more into, happy accidents, really. And some of the stuff that they've created are items that you can get in the magic item section, which are pretty damn awesome. And then, the Simic League, or the Simic Combine, these ones they perform, bio-experimentation on people. And sometimes just to try and get in, you can volunteer for some of these experiments, and you could change your race from elf to Simic Hybrid.
There's definitely a lot of cool things that's going on with this. You know what? I was far more impressed with Ravnica than I thought it was going to be. I definitely like this book way better than Dragon Heist. I feel like there's far more that I would take from this book and pull into my game. I spend a lot of time reading the monster section. And like we said, there's 78 new monsters, 5 of which are CR20 and above. Now, most of those are unique monsters. They're the rulers. Right. But they're still pretty cool. I mean, there is a frigging Cyclops in here that wears a mech, essentially. That is one of the monsters. So I found that super impressive.
So I read through. I did not spend as much time with the monsters. Come on, this is where I normally would go. I was definitely more interested in the factions and that kind of stuff because, as I said, the experimental things, they really had me going. So maybe there's a gnome hidden inside me that I don't know about. But I was definitely into that. The horrors I thought were really cool section, especially since like some of them just like they're constantly flying above the city. They can be used by the Rakdos, the Dimir, and the Golgari. All use the horrors in some way, shape, or form. And one of the horrors, the Skittering Horror, I think is a challenge 15. So if a faction is using one of those things, that's got to be terrorizing somebody.
That's why they're weak monsters, right? Now, there's a lot of cool things like that. Also worth noting, too, if you're looking at Ravnica on D&D Beyond, it actually has a lot of the artist attributions on a lot of images. Again, it also depends how you look at it. I think you have to look at it in the compendium mode. Mm-hmm. And then when you flip through, you're going to get the artist that did the art as well, which isn't in the book. And if you pull up like the specific image in D&D Beyond, the artist isn't there either. But if you're like scrolling through the compendium part, it is listed. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. I know a lot of people are kind of saddened that the later books of 5e don't have the artist's name signing the art like they've done in previous editions. So if you're one of those folks, this might make you happy.
I mean, it's definitely nice. And, we're, in a part where, artists really are deserving their credits. So to seeing somebody doing it, that's pretty nice.
One of the interesting things is there's a bunch of angels in here, which one of is evil. So
there is a lawful evil angel in there. I liked the weirds. They were, para-elemental creatures. There's one that's the blister coil is fire and water. The flux charger is lightning, fire, and smoke. And the galvanize is ice and lightning.
Yeah, there is so many great monsters in this book. Even if you're not going to play in Ravnica, I feel like there's tons of stuff that you can take and insert into your own game. I guess one of the things I didn't notice was a lot of maps in the book itself, so you probably have to get the Ravnica map pack. That part is a little bit disappointing, but if you're going to play in Ravnica, I feel like that's probably going to be crucial to your game.
I would think so as well.
So the question is, folks, have you gotten Ravnica yet? Have you had a chance to go through it? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below while you're at it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
After you do that, don't forget to check the description for a Gleam contest to win these books, as well as the link over to D&D Beyond.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.